Good morning. I hope that you are doing well. We have looked at a lot of forms. I'll go here to modules in our financial management class. When it comes to taxes, you looked at an I-9 form that told the employer that you're working for that you are eligible in the United States of America to work. You filled out the NC4 and W4, which gave them an estimate of how much tax should be taken out of your paycheck for you to have paid your taxes for the year to the federal and state government. We talked about the basic deductions for tax purposes, FICA, F-I-C-A, your Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, that kind of stuff that comes out. You did a little practice with that. You looked at your W-2 form, and that W-2 form shows the government. If you haven't, you'll do that today. But the W-2 form is the end of the year document that is sent to you to show you how much money you made and how much money you paid into the federal and state governments. Then at the very end of the year, you're going to have a form called the 1040. And on the 1040 form, you're going to put in your whole year summary of what you made, what was taken out, how much you paid to the government, how much you owed the government, and sometimes you owe the government more, your state and federal governments. And most of the time, though, people get a refund because they put too much in. Because there's a lot of things that can happen throughout the year and a lot of things you can do at the end of the year to reduce how much taxes you have to pay as you fill out this form. And when you do that, then the government might need to send them your money back, which most of the time it's what people get. Now, the last couple of years, I've had to pay taxes, but I'll show you why or tell you why in just a moment. All right, just making sure something there. All right, so when you open up your form and you look at it, you're going to have a W-2 over here. And when I go to view and zoom 100%, you're going to see a W-2 form for a fake person, Ann Smith of Louisville, Kentucky. And this is what her and you've already went over the different parts of this W-2 form. Then beside it, you have your 1040 U.S. Individual Income Tax Return. This is the most newest form. It was for last year. So in January 2021, people will be filling out the 1040 2020. So you do it for the year before. For most of you, your filing status is going to be single. And I think that talked a little bit about that in the other videos. Most of you, when you have your first job, but then if you're married, you can file together with your spouse and do one of these forms together. You can actually file separately. Most people decide that on which way they're going to get the most money back. Head of household, if you are taking care of a home and you also have children or dependents or somebody else that you're responsible for, you can claim that, and a qualifying widower. So the first thing you do is I went ahead and blocked in the single for you because we're just going to do a basic form for a single person. So the first thing you're going to do is put in the first name. Well, we're doing this form for Ann M. Smith. So I'm going to click on here and I'm going to do Ann M. Her last name is Smith. And then we're going to go over here and get her Social Security number. It's located right there on this W-2. So it's 56011. So it's 560-11-1234. That's a fake Social Security number used for this. I went ahead and blacked out the joint return. It won't be blacked out on a real form, but it'll be clear and you'll leave it blank. But I went ahead and blacked out all the spouse information so we just wouldn't have to deal with it, kind of showing you that there's a lot that you don't have to deal with on these forms. You also can do these forms online just like this and fill in the parts that you need to fill in and do your taxes online digitally at the end of the year. So this is 100 New Tech Road. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Excuse me. That's her employer address. Her address is 1713 West Palm Way. I'm getting that from right here. She does have an apartment number, which was 101. Her city, town, state, and zip are listed over here too. And that is Louisville, Kentucky, 40048. And that's for Miss Ann Smith. The next question that's asked is if you want to give money to the presidential election campaign. You know, it is election year when I'm doing this video, so they'll take it straight out of your tax refund. If you're not getting a refund, you can't do this anyway, whether you or your spouse, if you're filing jointly, want to do that. And then there's a note here that says if more than 4 dependents. So if you have more than 4 children or 4 people in your home that you've cared for more than 6 months in the year that are under the age of 17, you'll actually check there and that'll take care of some things. The standard deduction here is asking you a question, can somebody else claim you as a dependent on your taxes? Well, in 2019, I could claim my daughter, Lennon, as a dependent. So when she did her taxes, then she went, yes, somebody else can claim me as a dependent. And then it asked about your spouse again, just in case you're filing jointly. Then it gives you an age and blindness question. 1, if you were born before January 2nd, 1955. So that would make that person 65, which will give some more deductions at age 65. Are you blind? That gives you some different deductions, honestly. Again, another question about born and blind and dependents. I blanked this out, but if I move this down, you'll see there's blanks for that. If you had children or people you were caring for more than half the year under the age of 17, you put the first and last name, their social security number, how they're related to you, and do you get a child tax credit or other dependent credit on there. And there's a worksheet that will tell you if you're qualified for that, which we're not going to go over because we're just doing basic taxes. All right, now we're going to look at wages, salaries, and tips, etc. So we're going to look at the W-2 form, and we're going to see how much wages, taxes, and tips did she make for the year. So it's right there, $37,847.06. So we're going to put that right there. So we're going to put the 37,847, and then we're going to put the 0.06 on there too. I'll make that little box just a tiny bit bigger so it all fits in there. Then they're going to ask you about other places you could get income. Tax exempt interest. Some people earn money off of their money by putting it in the bank or buying stocks. Qualified dividends is another way that people earn money, which is, again, stocks and bonds. IRA distributions are money that you put into your retirement account. You go ahead and pay taxes on them now so you don't have to when you're retired. Same thing with pensions and annuities. If you've gotten any Social Security benefits from wherever, that goes in that box. And then it gives you another thing to think about, just what part of it was taxable. And then there's a Schedule B, but again, if you're having to do a bunch of this stuff, if you have interest and dividends and IRA distributions happening and all that stuff that's coming out of that year, and there's a lot of little details that you don't know how to deal with, it's better to get help. I have done that. I have gone to H&R Block and got my taxes done when I had weird things that I didn't want to lose out on my overall money, and I didn't want to do it wrong. So I wanted to go there and get help. I did have to pay for that. You'll be learning about places you can go to get help that's free. So if we add all those lines, 7B, this is your total income. And we only had the one thing because we're doing the simple thing. So like when I filled out my daughter's taxes, it was this simple. I did it for her, helped her out, just showed her how to do it real quick. Then there's a Schedule 1, line 22, which is just any other income. Again, you don't have to worry about a Schedule 1 on basic income taxes. It's just another form to look at. There's also a book that comes. It's a really long book, and it'll tell you what to look at line by line by line. And so if you have a question about just one certain line, it'll tell you about it. So I'm going to flip down through here, and it's going to tell me about all of these different lines and some worksheets to help me know how to fill that in and how to do that kind of thing. So the Schedule 1 is right there, which is just another form that talks about more types of income people can have. Again, if you don't have basic income and you have income coming in from all kinds of different places and you are unsure, it is better to get help. All right, then if 8A from 7B, if we have any adjustments from it, from the Schedule 1, things we actually, that you have to adjust, and we didn't have anything there. So the total amount of income, because it's a basic, if you have no weird stuff going on in your tax year that you don't know how to deal with, that would be basic. Now there's this next line that says standard deduction or itemized deduction. Deductions are something every American, over here you see in the box, single or married filing separately, can take $12,200 of that off and not pay taxes on that amount. So that's kind of like free money you get. You don't owe taxes on $12,200 of your income. So if you make less than $12,200, you're going to get everything back. So like my daughter didn't make very much last year, but if she still could get all the money back she sent to the government because she didn't make very much. But if she hadn't filed her taxes, she wouldn't have seen her money. So you can get your money back if you make less than that. Then other deductions, like I do itemized deductions because there's a lot of things like the interest I pay on my house and money given to charity, tax credits for children, all kinds of stuff I can look at for itemized deductions. And so I do that one because it turns out to be higher than $12,200. But if your itemized deductions are less than that, you can just take the standard. Every single American does not have to pay taxes on their first $12,200. Okay, so if you get a qualified business deduction, if there's anything in your business, maybe you lost some, your business flooded, you can put things there again. I would go get help with that if I had that. So my deductions, I add those two lines together, is $12,200. And so the amount that I'm going to be taxed on, I subtract the 37,847.06, and I take away the $12,200 that I don't have to pay taxes on. So I have to pay taxes on $25,647.06. That's how much I have to pay taxes on. So that first page just is how much did you make during the year. And you get that information from the W-2, which we got it from here. The next one is tax. So for the tax, it's like how much tax do you need to pay? So if you have any of these forms, again, weird forms or weird stuff going on, you put that there. But what you do is you take this 25,647, and in this booklet at the end of it, there's all these tax tables. See all these tax, they're right here, all these tax tables. It tells you how much tax you owe depending on if you're filing single, married filing separately, married filing jointly, head of household, how much tax you owe. So what I did is I went to that table and just took out a little chunk of it, and here is a link to that document I keep referring to. So I went over here and I just pulled out this one tax table, part of the tax table to keep it. So you'll see across the top, if you've got to find where your number's between, our number's 25,647. So it is between these two, 25,600 and 25,650. So you can see a single person owes $2,881 in tax. If you're married filing jointly, it's around $2,600. If you're filing separately, it goes back up to $2,881. If you're head of household, you pay a little less tax. So it depends on which of those you're filing. But we're filing single, so we owe the government $2,881 for the year. And then if I have any other things that I owe that owe tax for, then I fill those forms out and I'll let them know. But again, basic, we're doing basic. So we add all those together from this here, and that's 2881. Then we look at child tax credits or credits for dependents. There's a form for that. You get a little credit for having a dependent. The Schedule 3 is another tax form. Then we subtract. We put 13A, and it says subtract 13B from 12B. So we didn't have, we're going to say we had none of these, so we have none here. So this would be, we still owe 2821. Now, if we had something there, we'd even reduce that, how much we owed. And that's how people get tax credits for their children and that kind of thing, because you get credits for that. If you have other taxes that you owe, because maybe you're self-employed and you have to pay out taxes. If you're self-employed, you pay your own taxes. So you would put the tax from that you owe, which we're going to put none. So we actually owe the government for the year 2019, well, Ann does, $2,881. And so then we look on our W-2 form and we say, how much did we put in? How much did my employer take out and send to the federal government? So we're going to go back up to her form on the first page and we're going to say, how much was that? Oh, it's right here. 423829. So that's how much income tax was taken out by her employer. So we go back to page 2 and we say we took out $4,328.29. Then we look at some other things. Some people get an earned income credit. That's another form you look at to see if you get anything from there. You can look down through here at the earned income credit line. So we can find that through here. And it will help me to lower my expenses. So that was in line 18. So if I go through here, I'll find there's line 17, line 18. So if I have an IRA deduction or any kind of deductions that I don't have to pay taxes on, because you get credit for certain things. So there's stuff about the Schedule 3, more tax topics, more ways to earn. You get deductions, tax rates. There's just all kinds of things in this book that will tell you about these deductions. But again, if it gets complicated, you ask for help. So we're not going to do the earned credit. Keeping it simple, we're going to just, we're not going to do additional tax credits, American Opportunity Credit, all of those things. And so then we're going to put that in there. And so our total payments are $4328.29. Then we look at the two numbers. Here's where we go in. So we got 19 is $4328.29. We owed the government $28.81. We gave them that much. That is too much. So I overpaid. So how much did I overpay? I subtract those $4,328.29, and I'm going to subtract the $288.81 that I owed. So the government owes me money. So if 19 is more than 16, subtract line 19, that's the amount you overpaid. So I overpaid $1,047.29. So the amount at 20 is what we'll refund to you. So the government needs to send me back some money because I overpaid. And one way that you can do that is just get it put right into your checking account. So what I gave you for Miss Ann Smith, let me zoom back out. I put a check over here. And on that check is a routing number. And on that check is a account number. So I can show you where you would find that information. And if you don't have checks to look at, you can always get your bank to print that out to print that out for you. Or you can also just contact them, or you can look online and do your online banking and find it. So the routing number tells you which bank to send it to. So your bank's routing number, saying what bank to send it to, is that first number. Your account number is at that bank, whose account does it go into, which of course you want it into your own. That last number is just that check number. It's check number 123. We don't need that. So the routing number was 999-888-777. And the account number is 00123456789. It's going to say it's a checking account. So I'm just going to go up here and fill that in. And then if you want any of this money applied to next year's taxes because you're afraid, something's going to happen to that, then you can put that there in line 22. So that is just for a refund. So if you want, you're going to get that much money, $1,447.29, put into your checking account once your taxes are processed. If these lines were different, if one of them was bigger than the other, if this was, if what I owed was higher than what I sent in, then I'd owe them money. This third-party designee is if you want to allow another person to talk to the IRS for you if there's any questions. So if you got somebody, I want them to be able to talk to my mom because she knows what she's talking about or whatever, you'd put that in there. Then you just sign it and date it. Oh, we're Ann Smith. And then whatever date. Usually you're doing your taxes about 4/15, so I'll put that. It's what is her occupation, so your occupation, but for Ann, she works at the new tech company, so we're just going to say she's a tech. So we're going to go back down here, and we're going to say she's a tech. Now, sometimes the IRS sends you an identity protection pin, and that, and so if they have sent you one in the mail, or if you have requested one and gotten one, then you put that pin in there. If you had a spouse, we're not doing anything with spouse, but if you did, they'd do that. And this pay preparer use only is if I do go get somebody else and pay them to do my taxes, I would put that information in there about them. I'm not saying getting your mom, if your mom helps you or your dad helps you, your uncle, your grandma helps you, they're not paying them. A pay preparer works for a place like H&R Block or an accountant firm or something like that. But that's how you fill out a 1040. I hope you practice through it. You can notice that there's not a lot of lines you have to fill in if you're doing basic tax. It's just basically how much you owed, your deduction, how much you're going to be taxed, the amount. You need to know how to read a tax table. We might practice that a little more later. You fill in these pieces, find out you get a return or owe money. If you owe money, there's directions online or in this book that will tell you how to send it in. Again, you can always ask for help. There's free help out there. There's free online filing you can do. You'll learn all about that in another lesson. I hope this helps to explain it to you. Have a great day.